Bobby Grier played football for Pitt in the mid-50s and became a symbol for change. Transforming our nation's cultural values is not just a new cause that began recently. In 1956, one of our own was breaking down social obstacles. Bobby Grier was hoping to be the first African American to play in the Sugar Bowl. Pitt was scheduled to take on Georgia Tech, but Georgia's governor at the time urged the school to boycott the game if Grier was permitted to play. The University of Pittsburgh and Grier's teammates vowed not to take part of the game if Grier wasn't permitted to play. And on January 2nd, 1956, Grier broke the color barrier at the Sugar Bowl.
Grier takes a handoff, drives over the middle to the one before Morris checks him.
It was a real great feeling, especially to have the school back me like they did and the team back me and go down and play. And you go out in the stadium and look, and there's 85,000 people there yelling and clapping, and it gives you a great feeling.
A controversial pass interference call on Grier set up the game's only touchdown, as Georgia Tech went on to a 7-0 victory.
Grier takes the handoff from Neff, breaks over left tackle.
Grier finished as the leading rusher in the game with 51 yards, but more importantly, Pitt football and Bobby Grier were part of a major turning point in the history of American sports.
Hello, my name is Heather Like, and I'm the Director of Athletics at the University of Pittsburgh. And today it is my honor to introduce our program, Panther Legacies with Bobby Grier. Bobby Grier was the first African American to play in the Sugar Bowl. His participation in one of college football's most prestigious games resonated well beyond the field and helped lay the groundwork for those who came after him. Bobby's story has been well documented, but we are fortunate and thrilled to be able to present this opportunity today for our Pitt community to hear his story in his words. Joining us for this conversation are his son, Rob, and teammate Bob Rossborough. Serving as our moderator today is former Pitt football player and current University of Pittsburgh Board of Trustee member, Adam Walker. Thank you all for joining us today. There's a quote that says, "What you leave behind is not what is engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others." Bobby Grier's legacy of courage will remain forever a part of Pitt football. We hope you enjoy today's conversation, and hail to Pitt.
Thank you for joining me. This is a wonderful time, and thank you to our fearless leader, Miss Heather Like, for the wonderful introduction in getting this party started. Yes, I am Adam Walker, the one born and bred in Homestead, PA. But no, I'm not dressed up like Frederick Douglass today to honor Black History Month. The afro and the beard, that's just related to the COVID pandemic that we're all going through. We are here for a special purpose, and that's to celebrate Mr. Bobby Grier. And looking at what our nation has been going through over the last 12 months, we need him now more than ever. Our nation, we are in a health crisis, an economic crisis, a political crisis, and yes, we are still in a racial crisis. And Mr. Grier's story needs to be told over and over and over again. So you say, who is Mr. Grier? When I hear Mr. Grier's name, the first thing I think of is courage. Now, the definition of courage, according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, says, courage is the mental or moral strength to venture, persevere, and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. The only thing this definition is missing is Mr. Grier's picture right next to it. Now, I didn't come here to preach or teach during this time because it's not about me, but I want to come here and share some information with you so you understand why we are honoring Mr. Bobby Grier today during this celebration of excellence in Black History Month. And just to be clear, this is bigger than Black history. Guys, this is Pitt history. Little information. Mr. Grier had a standout career as a fullback for our Pitt Panthers during 1952 through 1955. But he may be better known for breaking the color barrier in college football when he became the first, let me repeat that, the first African American to play in the Sugar Bowl when the Panthers battled Georgia Tech in New Orleans, January 2nd, 1956. This was a tumultuous time. The governor of Georgia strongly opposed Mr. Grier's participation in the game, as did the Board of Trustees from Georgia Tech. That's the team, the Sugar Bowl, the Pitt was going to play in the Sugar Bowl. They elected to forfeit if Mr. Grier was not benched. However, Mr. Grier had strong support from his teammates and the University of Pittsburgh, who vowed, no Grier, no game. That is an awesome statement. Now, the story needs to be written after that. No Grier, no game. And that's just how the Pitt men and women are in 1955, and they are still that way today. So support for Mr. Grier also came from students and football players from Georgia Tech. They protested strongly against a forfeit and succeeded in seeing Mr. Grier take to the field in New Orleans. Now, the sad thing about this, guys, Pitt lost the game 7-0. And you know what? They wanted to point fingers at our guy. They say this was mostly due to a pass interference penalty, which was called on, yes, you guessed it, Mr. Bobby Grier. But later, photographic evidence strongly indicated the referee's call was incorrect. You guys know where this referee was from? Pittsburgh. Look at the irony. This story gets better and better the more I hear it. And this referee later admitted that he was wrong. And I believe he did this sipping on a beer at the Dirty O in Oakland. That part is not factual, but that's my assumption. Just for a couple highlights, Mr. Grier finished the game as the leading rusher with 51 yards. After the game, he protested the pass interference call. I believe Mr. Grier still protests this call to this very day. But he praised the Georgia Tech players, saying they were good sportsmen, perhaps the best I've played against all season. They played hard, but they played clean. It was a good game. Now, this is how you really know Mr. Grier is a Pitt man, because before he left the stage in that interview, he let everyone know, and I quote, "But believe me, I didn't push that man." Mr. Grier said that I didn't. Why is this all important? This is during the time of huge racial tension in our United States of America. This is during the time of old Jim Crow. You know about the Jim Crow. The Sugar Bowl was played just months after the lynching of Emmett Till in the neighboring state of Mississippi. 30 days prior to this, Miss Rosa Parks ignited the Montgomery bus boycott, where she, in protest, refused to relinquish her seat on a Montgomery, Alabama transit bus. You guys know that story. Mr. Grier is a legend. Mr. Grier is a civil rights leader, and Mr. Grier is our Pitt Panther. Now, just to start shifting gears, you heard of that song group that was doing my air in the 1980s called Tony, Tony, Tony. Today, I'm bringing you a new group. We have 3 Bobbies on the stage, guys. To help me honor Mr. Bobby Grier and share his story, we have his teammate, Mr. Bob Rossborough, and we have his son, Mr. Grier's son, Mr. Rob Grier. That's 3 Bobbies, no matter how you say it. And I believe they're going to sing to us, because once you hear Mr. Grier's voice and hear that deep baritone, he's going to serve us well. Well, on to bring on Mr. Grier is his teammate, Mr. Rossborough. Mr. Rossborough hails from Denord, PA, so he's as blue collar as I am. He was a scholar athlete, an academic counselor, and the former director of alumni relations. Please give us the honor of introducing and telling us something we do not know about your friend and teammate, the living legend, Mr. Bobby Grier.
That was beautiful. Thank you very much, my friend. Well, folks, I would imagine the best way to start this off is reflecting back on Jim Crow. It's hard to imagine what it must have been like, but just maybe the best way to imagine this is to think about the Sugar Bowl that existed between 1935 and 1955. For 20 years, when that game was played, there was a big sign. It was invisible, but there was a big sign around that stadium, and that sign said, "White players only allowed." Can you imagine that sign in our country? But that's what it said until 1956. Who is this human being? Not this football player and not this high school student, but who is the real guy? Well, I'm happy to tell you about him. Bob Grier was one of the most regular, down-to-earth, honest, reliable, just regular Bob Grier. But he's somebody that you knew you could rely on, and as a friend, you couldn't ask for a better friend. And I've always been proud to call Bob my friend, as well as my teammate.
Let me piggyback off of that. And before I do so, Rob Grier, I got to get all my Bobs correct, but we haven't introduced yourself yet, and you are the son of the legend, Mr. Bobby Grier. Would you like to say something that we don't know about your dad as we start getting into this story? And so before we hear from the legend himself.
You know, Dad has always been a patient person, just a great father growing up. You know, he was my little league coach when I played baseball and everything. So he always made time for family. So he's just an awesome guy, an awesome individual. And I'm, just proud to be his son, so anything we can do to help. And Dad loves coming back to the Pitt games and seeing all his teammates and enjoying the festivities, when before COVID, of course. But I know he looks forward to doing that again. Don't you?
Yes, I do.
There's that baritone. Well, I'm looking forward to meeting you in person as well, Mr. Grier, because I can't wait to give you a hug personally, because I'm begging for this one. But I want to piggyback off of Mr. Rossborough's statement when he was talking about receiving a bid and you can't go. Mr. Grier, what in the world was the atmosphere like knowing that you received a bid to the Sugar Bowl and still one of the biggest bowls to date next to the Rose Bowl, knowing that your team has a bid to go play, but they can't play if this little black guy from Ohio plays? What are your thoughts, and how did you feel knowing that this decision could have been on your back?
My thoughts were, the team gets to play. I would drop out in a minute. Because of me, I would just say, hey, I got hurt. Let the team go by and play in the Sugar Bowl. That was my thought. And I didn't tell anybody this. I told the girl I was dating at that time that was it. I'll stay here. They can go down and play.
And Mr. Grier, that's something to be applauded for when you start talking about that humble warrior, that quiet warrior you are, and not sharing that. Because me, as a running back as well, going to the Sugar Bowl, I'd have been kicking and screaming and rolling all up and down Fifth Avenue if I couldn't go play in the Sugar Bowl. So my hat's off to you, because God chose the right man to lead us here to break this color barrier. And Mr. Rossborough, I want to hear your feedback as well. What were your thoughts? Did everyone buy into no Grier, no game? And if they didn't, how long was it before they did? That before the team came into your night to say, hey, no Grier, no game?
Adam, thank you for asking that personal question. I came from a steel mill town, a small town with a high ethnic mix, a lot of black folks. I had a high school coach that said, it doesn't matter what boat your folks came over on. What matters is if you can play football. When Coach Michelson said those words to us, I immediately felt this tension of our team playing without Bob with us. And I looked over at Bob and I couldn't believe the situation that we were in and the discussion that we were about to get into. It was awesome. And I thought to myself, how are we going to figure this out? But you know what, folks? It was resolved in such a terrific way, because within 2 minutes, I felt and I knew what we were going to do, and it was the right thing. The first guys that began to talk said, in effect, these words: I don't want to play in the game without Bob. Let's play together as a team. We want Bob to come with us. Those were the sentiments that came out from our University of Pittsburgh football team. I was so proud of my teammates. When I walked out of that locker room after that whole meeting I felt like I was walking on 5 feet above the air. I was so happy. I was so proud. And it was just a wonderful experience. Basically, what happened, as we decided, we voted that we wanted to play in the Sugar Bowl, and we would play in that game, but we would not play in the game if Bob couldn't play with us. And our co-captains went out, left the room, called the coaches back in, and they said to Coach Michelson, Coach, we want to play in the Sugar Bowl, and we want you to tell the university officials that. And from there, the meeting was over. And we walked out, and we had to wait and find out what was going on.
That is an awesome story, and thank you for sharing. And that just goes to show you how Pittsburgh strong and Pittsburgh tough is, because Pittsburgh can be a little racial and has some racial tendencies and sounds itself. But to unite in football, I always say it's the ultimate team sport, and it brings everyone together. Now, we lost a great man a few days ago, a week or so ago, Marty Schottenheimer, Pittsburgh guy. Now, he would always say, it's all about 2 letters, guys. W-E, we, U-S, us. And the Pitt Panthers of 1955 and that 1956 Sugar Bowl, you guys exemplified we, us team and fighting for one another. And Mr. Grier, you have the biggest shoulders I've ever seen, because I'm sitting here just looking. You guys made the decision to go play. You're in Pittsburgh, which wasn't the nicest city in town, but we had our own, but the football team and everyone was working together. You have a trip to the deep South on the heels of Emmett Till and Rosa Parks. Now I'm talking months, not years, months and weeks for Rosa Parks. What in the world was that ride like, going down to Louisiana? And how did you feel? Because that was a very scary time for a Black man in the South, period, let alone from a Northern Black man coming down to kick the door down of the Sugar Bowl. How did you feel?
I felt nervous. Everything, I gotta act all right, now, good. I'm a Pitt player, and I'm gonna be a Pitt player, and we're gonna play there, and we're gonna play good and decent game. And that was it.
Awesome, man. I still feel frightened when you look at the old videos. Now, Mr. Rossborough, you're a teammate.
Yeah.
Your teammate is getting ready to kick the doors down and make a statement. You're not free neither. They can firebomb the entire bus or the hotel. How do you and the rest of the team feel? about going down to the deep South? Because you're from up north, you're from across the Mason-Dixon line. So they don't like you neither. So how did you feel, and how did the rest of the team feel about supporting your black teammate in the South?
Adam, we were ready to go. You know, after being raised in Western Pennsylvania and playing football in this area, we were ready to go and kick butt.
That game sounded like a rumble in the jungle, I tell you.
That's it.
Now, Rob, do you have a story that our two legends aren't sharing with us about this trip going down to New Orleans? Were there any gas station incidents? Were there any coffee incidents going on?
Well, you know, every time that Dad and Mr. Rossborough get a chance to see each other, it's so funny because he goes, you know, I've known your dad longer than you've been alive. I'm like, yes, sir. You know? And it tells the stories that, you know, that he told it so eloquently, and it's just fantastic. And even me, I choke up whenever I hear that. But just the teammates coming together and, you know, supporting Dad, and they all supporting each other. You know, just like Mr. Rossborough was saying, that it was one of the most momentous occasions in his life that he was a part of. So we just appreciate him and all the teammates.
Awesome.
Yes, very much.
Now, Mr. Grier, we've talked about some scary moments and things like that, and heart palpitations going on about going down south, being the first, being the leader. There were some good things that happened down there. Now, you shared with me the other day that Georgia Tech, the football team, welcomed you with open arms. Can you share that story with us?
After the game, we were all going to eat at this hotel, and I was getting ready to go in with the Pitt players. And Georgia Tech players came over, and half of them grabbed me and said, "No, you're going to sit at our table and eat with us." And that's what I did. Sat down with the Georgia Tech players and waved up at the Pitt players over there. But it was good. They treated me excellently.
Well, awesome. So in saying that and going down there, I want to share a fun fact for everyone. Guys, 1956, Pitt played in the Sugar Bowl. Mr. Bobby Grier kicked the door down as a running back, led the game, and it was the rushing leader of the game. Now, does everyone understand the significance? Pitt running back the first. 21 years later, the University of Pittsburgh travels back to the Sugar Bowl to play another team from Georgia, this time the Georgia Bulldogs, for the national championship. And again, guess who is the highlight of the game? Another Pitt running back, Mr. Tony Dorsett, Heisman Trophy winner. And that's just getting started because we all stand on the shoulders of Mr. Grier. Now, there's a long lineage of running backs. Mr. Grier kicks it off. Tony Dorsett, Curtis Martin, Lusaka Polite, you know, we have Shady McCoy, we have Craig Ironhead Haywards, we have All-Americans, we have Super Bowl champs, we have Heisman Trophy winners, we have professional football Hall of Famers. Mr. Grier, you're a Hall of Famer in every book I can see. And I want to thank you and just give you the honor and recognition that you deserve. But do you have any words on kicking off this legacy of great running backs at the University of Pittsburgh?
Oh, it was great to be there. Tony Dorsett, I helped recruit him to come to Pitt. And that was my part of that. And, but it was all very good. I'll tell you, very good.
I love it. Everyone always talks about the University of Georgia, whom we beat the national championship as being RBU, or running back university. I think it's the University of Pittsburgh, because our running backs from what I can tell and see, starting with you, have made the biggest difference on the field, in college and pro, and in the communities that we serve. And my hat goes off to you again. What are the advancements Bobby Grier has seen over times and his hopes for the future with regards to racial equity? Mr. Grier, would you like to chime in on that, or Rob, do you want to take the baton?
Well, I see football has changed since they've gotten more together as a race, as a group of people. We're here to play football and not to be segregations. We want to win. We want to be happy. All our players are equal. And that is what come out of this.
That's awesome. Thank you.
And Dad has
anything?
Absolutely. Dad has always stressed to me the importance of teamwork and working together. And, you know, he sees even, you know, sometimes he'll cringe seeing the end zone celebrations, you know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, well, that's more kind of individual. But if it were a team thing and the team came together, he's like, okay, that's good. I'm good with that. But he strongly feels that, you know, especially with his story and the governor of Georgia getting involved in segregation, that what got him through was the teamwork that the whole team showed. So yeah, Dad's a big teamwork guy.
I love it. It reminds me of that quote that says, it's not about me, it's about we. Teamwork makes the dream work. We have the lumber, let us build. And we've been building on your shoulders and standing with you and after you, Mr. Grier, and I love it. And Rob, this last question is for you. What takeaways do you have from your dad's accomplishments? And what do you want our Pitt community, our Pitt family to know about your dad?
Wow, that one, he's Pitt through and through. As a matter of fact, the woman that he was talking about that he was dating at the time was my mother, who got her PhD at Pitt. She was a Delta, Dad was a Kappa Alpha Psi. So, you know, I've just grown up in a Pitt household, you know, but, you know, I guess I would say to the wider Pitt communities that, you know, there's so many stories to be proud of through the university. And, you know, athletics has just been just a star as far as the whole university itself. They just are just top notch across the board. And especially the way that they treat the former players, you know, here's, how many years later and still they're recognizing Mr. Rossborough and Dad and the rest of his teammates. That's just fantastic. So hopefully those current teams can understand that, hey, you know what, you're part of the family. And, you know, next thing you know, your son may be bringing you back to a game. So, you know, so yeah, but it's been an awesome thing with the whole university. And so we're just so proud of Dad and just to be a part of it.
Well, awesome. I thank you again, Mr. Grier. We thank you for your leadership and your courage. We all stand on your shoulders today because what I learned about your story years ago, when I saw the new sizzle reel for the documentary A Quiet Storm, I can see God whispering in your ear, saying the scripture, Joshua 1:9, be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with you wherever you go. And I know God rode with you all the way to Louisiana and back, and he's still riding with you today. And I pray that we are all blessed, like Mr. Grier is, with the wisdom to know what's right and the courage to do what's right, no matter what. So if you guys could help me give it up one time for our civil rights leader, our dad, and our Pitt Panther, Mr. Bobby Grier. Give it up, y'all.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you again. And I want to thank the three Bobbies. I told you we had a new group. You guys are going to have to sing for me. I'm going to bring you in to help me sing this song. Rob, Bob, and Mr. Bobby. Thank you for this journey, taking this journey with me today to celebrate the career of Mr. Bobby Grier and what he's meant to us as Pitt men, as Black men, and men in the United States of America. Guys, give it up again for the three Bobbies, Bobby, Rob, and Bob. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, I hope you have it with me. I need you to sing this song, and as soon as I start, you better catch on. So I need your support. P-I-T-T-P-I-T-T. Let's go, Pitt. I see each and every one of you guys watching this today at the top. Don't meet me there. Beat me there. Hail to Pitt.
Hail to Pitt.
Hail to Pitt.
Hail to Pitt. Hail to Pitt.